Hello there. My name is Cole Failing, but you probably know me as the director of the smash hit Mafia movie, Goncharov. Today I'm going to be continuing work on my extending blade Obi-Wan Kenobi lightsaber, refining the blade mechanism, and adding a crystal chamber. Okay, first things first. I didn't have Jedi robes, so this bathrobe is gonna have to do. Second of all, if you haven't watched my first lightsaber video where I explain how I built the extending blade, definitely go watch that one first, because I don't want to explain it again. There's already a video. The first thing I wanted to do was some additional work on the hilt. Alec Guinness's original prop from A New Hope had a pair of buttons on the side of the Graflex clamp, which were conspicuously missing in my first lightsaber video. Not very professional, Cole. The original buttons were made from Marconi transistors, but I wanted to turn mine into functional buttons, so I created them myself from various pieces of hardware. Next up, I still needed to add the D-ring through one of the pommel cubes. Now, the D-ring is one of my favorite details of the original trilogy lightsabers, but there's a very important reason that I hadn't added it to mine yet. I was scared. These pommel cubes are so thin, and if your drill bit is off by 1 degree, you've ruined your pommel. Drilling this hole was one of the most nerve-wracking things I've ever done, but fortunately it came out perfectly. What was I all worried about? I'm too good at this. Finally, I did want to give my grenade section and balance pipe a light acrylic wash because waiting for these metals to patina naturally takes like 100 years, and I got bored. I think this goes a long way towards making those pieces look like their real-world counterparts, and I greatly prefer the weathered look to the machine finish lightsaber. I'm looking at you, Revenge of the Sith. Anyway, doing all that gave me a chance to redesign the lightsaber's internal mechanism. Despite making a custom balance pipe with a deeper step than the original to hold my coiled-up blade, it still peeked out over the top just a bit. I decided to trim down the plastic coil itself so that it would sit at a lower profile, and I'm much happier with it now. The blade is still relatively sturdy, but since I trimmed it down, the coil does collapse now and then. You should always sacrifice functionality for aesthetic payoffs. I also decided to run the fishing line through a thin brass pipe, which will eliminate a lot of the friction when the blade's extending. But that's boring. Nobody wants to hear about friction. You guys want to see lightsabers. After doing all that, I realized I still had some space left over in the lightsaber, so I thought that it would be fun to build a crystal chamber. I was wrong, of course. It wasn't fun. It was a nightmare, but I did it anyway. To make the chamber, I cut a bunch of aluminum brackets and connected them together with tiny little bolts. To get the crystal, I traveled to the ice planet of Ilum and dug it out of one of those ice caves. It was a little bit of an odyssey. The cave entrance started freezing over while I was in there. There was a robot voiced by David Tennant. It was a whole thing. And for the brass spacers, I just rooted around in my junk drawer until I found some tiny pieces of hardware. I'm 100% sure that's what all the Jedi do, by the way. I wired in some blue LEDs to light the crystal, which are activated by pressing one of the side buttons. I also added a sliding switch in the clamp box that activates the laser, which is still very much part of the mechanism, by the way. Since my first video, I've experimented with a lot more different lighting options, and the laser is still the only one that works. Finally, I've been getting a lot of requests to show the lightsaber in action. I don't have any opponents to fight yet, so enjoy this dramatic footage of me just activating the lightsaber several times. And that was everything. Just wanted to shoot a quick update video for you guys since I've gotten a fair bit of interest in my first lightsaber video. Don't tell my other projects, but this is my favorite prop that I've made since I started my channel. I'll be moving on to another hilt in my next lightsaber video, and there are others still that I want to tackle after that, but none of them will ever eclipse this one for me. This will always be my favorite. Stay tuned for my next video where I will be reopening the Jack the Ripper cold case. He is still at large, guys. Still! How have they not caught him yet? Anyway, see you now.